Jason.
Mm-hmm.
See.
It's counting.
We have nothing going on. I think those okay.
We live.
Okay. It is 6 p.m., so I'll call the meeting order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, August the 8th. If you would at this time, please rise for our invocation, followed by our pledge. I'll take care of the business tonight. If you bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight and ask for your blessings on this this meeting we have tonight, and please provide us with the wisdom and guidance to make the decisions that are pleasing to you and for the betterment of our community. Lord, we come to you tonight. We ask a special blessing for the family that lost their daughter, and for the school children that lost their classmate last week. Stay with them, and Lord, we ask you to continue to bless the families of our two firefighters who, thanks to your blessings, are showing remarkable improvement, and we pray that continues and give that family strength as they deal with that. Lord, bless this community and this nation, and so in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Do you want me to pledge? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda are public comments. As always, I'll call your name. Your name and your address for the record, and you have 5 minutes. So, Mr. Chastain.
I'm going to put my watch on here. I'm going to take more than 5. So
You got 5, sir.
yep. I'll continue the next meeting if I don't get through. So, Andy Chastain, Upson County Tax Commissioner, 116 West Main Street. I'm here in capacity of constitutional officer tonight to address some comments that were made at the last meeting here. But first, I want you guys to know, out of respect, that I know the decisions you make at times aren't going to make everybody happy. I have to make those same decisions in my capacity. And sometimes it's about being fair and not fair. But you still have to make those decisions, right? So, what I want to address are comments that were made about the employee handbook and what Commissioner Ellington wanted the public to know concerning constitutional officers and their employees not having to adhere to the county employee handbook, and how it's not fair to other county employees. So, Commissioner Ellington, I believe, said that you want to put the handbook in front of each constitutional officer and get their take on it, and see what they, see if they buy into it. So my first issue with that statement is, why haven't you already done that? Instead of stating publicly beforehand that that's what you want to do. Why not go ahead and do that and get our opinions and insight before making a statement in a public hearing? That kind of makes the constitutional officers look like the bad guys in this thing. Now, I know that wasn't your intention, but it came in the middle of a vote to amend the employee handbook. I can understand the concept about wanting to be fair all the way around, but what's fair in you or the board's opinion may not be considered fair from my position as a constitutional officer, which is why I believe it's important to know our viewpoints before making that statement publicly. So now I have a few points about this matter and other matters that I feel the public should know in order to make a fair assumption. Kind of like Paul Harvey, I want you to hear the rest of the story, okay? As you know, all of you know, but I want the public to know, that we're elected officials, and according to the state constitution, we're given authority by the state, just like this board, to set our own policies for our employees, and there's a reason for that. My guess is that one of the reasons we're given that authority is to keep other county officials from setting a policy or standard that may interfere with the efficient operation of our office. That's one reason, and I'm sure there's other reasons I may not be aware of at the moment, for that authority to be granted by the state. So if one has a problem with the authority that's given to a constitutional officer, or the fact that they set their own policy, then that should be taken up with the state legislature. They're the ones that made that rule. Yes, my employees receive county benefits and their salaries are paid by county taxpayers. But we also perform duties for the state MVD and the DOR. The majority of what we do benefits the county itself, especially in the form of revenue. So let's assume you've approached me and asked me how I feel about the employee handbook and the policies therein. Now, if you've assumed I wouldn't accept it as my own office policy, then you'd be right. And here's a few reasons why. The amendment itself, the one that you guys just approved two weeks ago. And let me stop right here. I'm getting back to the amendment, and then in the middle of the amendment approval, I think Commissioner Jones had suggested it, somebody seconded it, but in the middle of that, that's when you chose to make your comments about the constitutional officers, employees not going by the handbook. I don't understand the purpose of those comments in the middle of a vote to, approve an amendment into the employee handbook. What does that have to do with it? Anyway, I'll get back to that if I have time. I totally understand the concern for conflicts of interest, or the conflicts of interest issue that can and has occurred in the past, but consider a situation that may very well occur. That it?
That's it.
What's that?
That's it.
Okay. I'll catch you next meeting. If,
Okay, so
I'll hang around
next on the
if y'all
agenda
want to
is
discuss it some more.
we're moving on to it. So, next on the agenda, sir, gentlemen, is the consent agenda. For your consideration for the consent is the approval of the July 25th, 2023 regular meeting minutes and approval of the July 31st special call meeting. Is there a motion on the consent?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
I'd like to abstain on the July 25th regular meeting minutes. I was absent that night.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Okay, moving along. Old business. Discussion and possible consideration of an updated intergovernmental agreement with the Thomaston Upson County Board of Education for school resource officers. Gentlemen, you'll remember that we tabled this at the last meeting because there was an exhibit that we did not have. I think we all now have that exhibit. It basically is a breakdown of the cost, and you have before you the agreement. This is a revision to the original agreement. I think the main thing is there was adding one resource officer. So with that, is there a motion on this agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the updated intergovernmental agreement with the City of Thomaston, Upson County School Board of Education, and the Sheriff and the county for school resource officers. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, so they're adding just one person.
Yeah. I think it's obviously the school year's already started. I think it's already a done deal.
All the stuff on the bottom of Exhibit A, the uniform and all that stuff just applies to the one person, right? That's the extras.
No, I believe this is, that is, and Jason, correct me if I'm.
Oh, no, excuse me.
That is the
It's
entire cost of
Yeah, I
it.
didn't follow
Yeah,
that.
it's the budget for the entire program.
Yeah.
I was looking at the first one.
And y'all know we pay 25% of the cost.
I'm good.
Is there any other discussion? So hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Mr. English, it's not really a huge deal. I'm going through this, I noticed a couple of minor typos. You know, I don't know if we want to try to get those fixed before it's inked. So, and I can show you what I've got. Okay. Moving along, discussion and possible consideration of a guaranteed maximum price, GMP, for the Civic Center upgrades. And with that,
Chairman.
Wait,
Skip one.
I skipped one?
Gee.
Oh! Jessica, thank you. All right, item D is the discussion and possible consideration of a lease agreement with GDOT for the Andrews Drive property. Jason?
So, Mr. Chairman, about 2 months ago, I was approached by the folks at our district GDOT office. As you may be aware, we're seeing a lot of these lease revisions from the state come as the Properties Commission is basically going through all the space occupied by the state that's not currently owned by them and trying to get lease agreements where none exist or where some have expired. So in this case, GDOT still occupies part of that Andrews Drive property, and they have since they turned the majority of the property over to us. So this simply is just us recognizing the fact that they're still occupying part of it. And you'll see that delineated in Exhibit B, which the sections that they're still using. So this, in essence, just codifies in a lease what we've been doing since we took possession of the main campus there. I did an executive summary and pointed out a few things. The term's 20 years. It's $1 a year. Any party can terminate with 30 days notice. Other than that, it's really just going to be business as usual with them as the tenants that they have been since I want to say that the county took possession of this building potentially more than a decade ago or close to a decade ago. So this lease, as was reviewed by our attorney's office, just recognizes the fact that they're still occupying part of it.
Do they meet down there or what?
They're using it for, I think, some lab space, some office space, some other activities.
Those little buildings to the right of the
Yeah.
big. Right.
Yeah, they actually have a decent amount of staff in and out of there every day, so.
Okay, so staff's recommendation is approval of this lease.
Mr. Chairman, if I might just add one little clarification on it. The termination clause in this, it actually is one-sided. It's from, if you look at subsection 4.1, it allows the leasing, which is the state, to terminate within 30 days written notice. But there's no language in there as far as the county is concerned. And I will point out, I didn't draw this. This was something that the state sent out. So it's just one thing I wanted to bring up.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to remind the board on this property, I believe this is the property that has the reversionary clause in it, so that if we deem that we no longer have an applicable county use for this property, it does revert back to the state. If we were to vacate it and give them notice.
Okay, so because of that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to point out the actual language of the lease doesn't include the 30-day written notice from us, the leaseor, but we've got the reversionary clause in the deed paperwork, so in essence, we have a way out of the contract. And I'm sure the state, when they drew, state attorneys, when they drew this up, they're looking after the state, they're not necessarily looking after the county. So,
You suggest we put in a 30-day, or are we okay with?
I mean, I think the reversionary clause covers any issues. I mean, obviously, if you wanted a completely clean agreement, we could add that language.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you for that clarification. On item 10 in my executive summary, I actually had lessee may terminate. Yeah, I just was not reading my own notes very well.
Okay. So staff's recommendation is approval of this lease. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
So I have a motion made and seconded to approve the lease agreement with GDOT for the Andrews Drive property. Any discussion? I know that, we've had some, in many of our planning sessions, we've talked about getting out of the property management business. So, and this is one of those buildings that we've talked about. So at some point down the road, we'll be wanting to let this revert. At least that's been the discussion we've had to date. So there's really no need for us to possess that building. But anyway, just putting that out there. Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Okay, next, get this right. Discussion and possible consideration of guaranteed maximum price GMP for the Civic Center upgrades. Something we've been waiting for.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so you have a recommendation for approval of the GMP from Parish Construction in your packet. They're proposing an award, and you'll see on what's their Appendix B, the breakdown of the different bid packages that they considered and received from a multitude of sources. I won't go into them, but they're shown, and I'm just confirming, as accepting the low bid for each of the three packages and recommending that, along with some other allowances and general conditions for a total GMP of $493,836. And going back to my notes when we were discussing this in our February retreat, I think we had a rough estimate of $550,000 for the project. So this is in line with what estimates were.
And just to remind everybody what the extent of this project really is. It's you want to take that. I mean, I know it's basically to stop the water intrusion into the building.
That's correct.
To dry it up.
So there's several places on the wall that are going to be addressed. And Commissioner Watson knows and understands these terms a little better than I do, but issues with where we've lost flashing over the last 40 years, downspouts, drainage. I think we've had issues with weeping systems in the walls. But also be reminded, this does include a mezzanine lighting upgrade for both mezzanines. So we'll, in this, the part of the electrical will address the pickleball lighting issue, and I forget which mezzanine pickleball is, but the one, it will grab both of them. So that is included in this project as well.
So both mezzanines will be, the lighting will be taken care of. So
Upgraded.
if there was ever a need to have pickleball going on both sides, they could do that.
Correct.
Okay. And the source of this funding?
This is SPLOST 2016, what we call our Level 2 SPLOST 2016, which is designated for Joint Projects Capital.
Okay. And staff's recommendation is, well, Parish's recommendation is approval.
Yes, sir.
So, gentlemen, you have that for consideration. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it because it really needs it.
Okay. And for the record, if I could just go ahead and amend it, so to approve the expenditure of $493,836, not to exceed.
Correct.
Is that okay to you as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve this guaranteed maximum price of $493,836 is not to exceed for the needed repairs on the Civic Center. Is there any discussion?
Let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
We've had water intrusion in this building we've had it repaired many times, I believe, over the years. Has Parish been involved with the repairs over the years that we know of?
No,
They have not.
I think this was an outreach to them after a lot of repair attempts over the years, and I think this is the first time an engineering firm has actually been engaged
Well,
to go up and troubleshoot it. I mean, they went up there and did the
Moisture testing, that was the first thing he did.
ultimately, we've been putting Band-Aids on it.
That's I guess that's what
We've never got to the root of the problem.
The roof's fine, it's the
Right.
around.
Yes, that parapet that pops up.
Refresh my memory, because I remember talking about the wall. You know, I know there was leaking between the wall and the roof, but with the walls tilted.
Separating. I think,
And that, I don't see that in here.
I don't think it was an issue. I think structurally, I could be wrong, but.
No, you're correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Once the structural engineers looked at it, they were okay with the little deviation we've had. They just were saying we need to address the moisture.
And there are, you know, if you look at the breakdown of the cost, there's an owner's contingency and a construction contingency built into this. So that if they get into it, and there's
Correct.
other things. And then the allowances, that's another way of
Yeah. That's the
covering some of
electrical.
the unforeseen things that they may find once they get in there.
Well, none of those that we just talked about are listed in the allowances. Because this got electrical allowance, framing, you know, so.
In-wall.
In-wall unforeseen.
That's
$15,000.
unplugged.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We'll see.
Well, it's a GMP.
Hey, we gotta get it fixed. I mean,
We
it's-
gotta get it fixed.
We gotta get it
Well, we've been holding off on this because we made this a priority. And there are a lot of other projects that we need to consider. Ball fields, lighting, bleachers. So, and it's all been approved through 2016 splosh, so we gotta get moving on that.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Why are we fixing the floor in the racquetball court?
Because of flooding, is that right, Jason? It was-
Yeah, we recently had a massive water intrusion in there, close to 60 days ago.
Does anybody play racquetball?
But it's part of the building. Just, I mean,
Can't we turn that into something else?
Well, our director has showed us several proposals. I think, if you remember during the presentation from the previous budget cycle, I think one of the concepts was a spin room. One of the main issue we have is ADA access to because it goes down a very narrow stairway, and they're trying to find creative ways that you can make that accessible. And, so I think that was one of the issues.
Not big enough for a couple pickleball courts.
Okay.
I'm done.
The main issue there was water intrusion from the outer wall.
okay. Any other discussion? So hearing no further discussion. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. All right. Move along. County manager.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'd like to utilize my time to bring up a subject that yourself and Commissioner Watson assisted me on when it came to a discussion with our design consultants regarding the color of the fixtures, no, not the fixtures, but the interior colors of our future Justice Center. So the three of us went to the airport for
A while.
2+ hours, or maybe close to 3 hours, and we listened to presentations from our consultants. And as a result of those, what little input I think we gave them, that they have presented a color palette, which represents some of maybe not the decisions, but some of the guidance that specifically you and Commissioner Watson gave them through that process, and they're submitting it here for review. And keeping in mind, this contract has already been let, and I'm technically the owner rep for the project. So the one thing I did not want to do was make a decision on color without bringing this forward to the board, to at least see if there was any other board members that potentially wanted to have input on it. So I included it in the folder for discussion tonight. So maybe you could have a look at it. If there's comments or concerns or feedback, my own personal recommendation is that I felt like we gave them a decent amount of feedback, but they generally led the conversation as to where they think, with the type of building, the type of functions, the amount of traffic we would have in certain areas, considering maintenance costs and upkeep costs. I think all that was taken into consideration and put into this final palette. So it would be my recommendation that we accept the recommendation of the consultants that we chose to do this, but I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any heartburn moving forward.
Yeah.
And just say very casually, I don't feel comfortable picking the colors. So
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. is Ultimately, we didn't pick the colors. That was the design teams.
Right.
I mean, they gave us this color palette. Our input was mainly, types of materials in certain areas, making sure it's something that made sense.
All right, I've got 2 of those in here. Which one is the
So the
newest?
I think they're both the same. One of them was too large of a file to share by email, so they sent a second one. Some of the recipients weren't receiving it, so I dumped both in there just in case. I think they're identical to each other. So.
And if you scroll down, there's some kind of renderings of the different rooms, which is pretty neat.
I like the colors. I mean, it needs to be neutral, and it is fairly neutral. You don't need any purple walls or orange walls or orange carpet. So.
It seems to have it's a combination of classic and modern. I mean, it doesn't, certainly not offensive in any way, that's for sure. And seems courthouse-ish to me.
Well, and these are
Yeah.
designers.
Yeah.
I mean, and so they're designing, their colors and the texture of the wood and that stuff like that. It keeps in mind the purpose of the building, and like Commissioner Watson said, they kind of gave us A, B. You go for an eye exam, A, B, which is better. Well, we went with that, but most of our conversation was about more material, LVT flooring, porcelain, tile, carpet, that type stuff. And
All within budget.
Yep. So what, and Jason and I talked about, I know we don't want to have this huge presentation. If you see something you don't like, let us know. I mean, we've got a few days. I mean, the main push is so that they can let the vendor know, okay, what to go ahead and start getting ordered.
And Mr. Chairman, the other part about this is that once this is set, now we can move into furniture, FF&E acquisition. So now they know what the palette is going to be, then we know what type of furnishings we're going to be looking at. So.
Because it's not on the agenda, can we make a motion on it, though?
Well, we're not asking for one. We're just saying, if you
This
just
is
take a look at it. If you've got a problem with something, I'm sure that we've got time to address it. I mean, it does offer a really good rendering of the inside of the building and how it all ties together. So,
I'm good with it.
so just don't take it home and show somebody and start getting.
As with any contract that the board approves, the administration of that contract is delegated to me. I felt like I wanted to have one extra conversation about this before
If
we
somebody
move
doesn't
forward.
like it, they blame Jason.
I'm a neutral color guy.
Well,
Me too.
Well, it's not, neutral, it's not like
Black and white.
black and white, pale, it does have, I think it has a wow factor in some areas. There were some accents that they added to, especially in the hallways and things. So, I thought it looked really, really good. So, but our focus was on M&O, material type, making sure is it's the right stuff. So, what else you got?
Mr. Chairman, that is all.
All right.
That is all. If you have any questions or concerns, just reach out to me directly. I do have an OAC meeting tomorrow at 10. So if you have any questions, I can certainly get them answered.
Well, as far as construction goes, I mean, right now, and we've said we've had some very dry weather, and if you're doing earthwork and masonry work, dry weather's a good thing to have. 100-degree temperatures aren't another thing, but I think they were planning a big pour, not rain, concrete, this week,
Yes.
and that's when you'll see the base levels really starting to take shape. So,
They are starting early
On that.
under the lights.
yeah.
3 a.m. is what my understanding.
Wow, so if you see it lit up down there, that's what they'll be hauling a bunch of concrete in. So
I went
put your helmet on, go down there and walk
I
around.
went down there the other day.
Yeah, I did too. So it's
And
moving
Mr.
right
Chairman,
along.
that's a good reminder. Anytime, just head down to the trailer, bring your hard hat, and someone will be glad to take you around if they're available. So
That's us.
That's you, anytime.
Right,
So they're always ready and willing to even take a break and show you what's going on. So,
yeah.
mhm.
So,
And if you have any interest in attending any of these OAC meetings, I would highly recommend you do that if you're interested. So.
Okay, all right. Ms. Jones?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Sign-ups for classes are due pretty quick, so if you got any classes you need to take, get that information to Jessica, and go from there. Mr. English?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Watson?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Ellington?
Yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity to address the comments that were made. I just want to say this, I was elected as a representative of the people, and I will discuss at any time, any place, anywhere, the people's business. That is my job. Robert's rule states that we vote the way we vote, and there's a section for discussion. And nothing I said last week, or I'm saying right now, is false. Constitutional officers do not have to follow the same plan as Bristol County employees do. You admitted that standing right here. Are we supposed to hide that from the people? I mean, I think you're the most offended constitutional officer we have.
Am I allowed to retort it?
No, you're not.
Okay, I'll retort next meeting. And you'll finish hearing what I
Well,
got to
let's,
say.
sir, you're out of, so, you want to finish?
Yeah. I'm going to do the people's business. And if it offends somebody, so be it. They can be offended. That's my job. That's what the people elected me for. They elect you to do your job. They will elect me to do my job. And my job is to handle the people's business in front of the people. Is it right to go behind closed doors and make decisions? Unless it's executive session, we're supposed to conduct business out here in front of the people. I will do that today, tomorrow, and to the day I'm voted out of office. That's all I got to say.
Mr. Jones?
Just want to appreciate everybody that showed up. Ms. Fagan, sure I'm glad you back with us. That COVID knocked everything out, and it's just glad to see your beautiful face. And continued prayers for the 2 firefighters and family that lost their young daughter, which is terrible. Other than that, I'm done.
Mr. Wallen?
I do have one thing I want to say. I've had an opportunity to, over the last
11 years?
few years, and especially recently, visiting the playgrounds, and I have visited other areas that got playgrounds. Our playground equipment is a little bit too small for certain, we got it for 3 and 4 year old, 5-year-old. We need to have some updated, bigger equipment for 7 and 8, 9-year-olds in our all of the playgrounds. They need to be, we need to be looked at, and we need to see, can we get some playground equipment for a little bit larger children.
Okay. Nothing else?
Nothing else.
All right. Well, trying to think. I would encourage anybody that has anything that you want to address this board on. We're accessible. I mean, when we come in here, we are doing the people's business, and we're as transparent as we will. That's one of our goals and objectives is transparency. And so there's benefit to having these discussions in this. What I would offer is that if there's a discussion that we need to have on topics, then let's get it on the agenda. I mean, I don't like having to cut someone off that is bringing something to us because of our rules limiting us to 5 minutes for public comments. I mean, when you come here and you sign up for comments, that's the rules by which we adhere. If there's a discussion that needs to be had, then let staff know, and they'll let me know, and I'll add it to the agenda so that we can have a discussion on it.
Is that an invitation for me to be put on the agenda?
That is an invitation for anyone to request me to put you on the agenda.
I'd like to request
Well,
you
you
to put
can
me on the
get
agenda.
with me after this, and we'll talk about it. This is not back and forth. I mean, I respect your position and everything. I'm just trying to stick to the rules. We don't typically have back and forth unless we're on the agenda discussing a certain thing. We have, as far as the handbook goes, this handbook was revised and circulated not that long ago. The employee handbook was revised 2 years ago.
It's probably revised more often than that. It's research.
But it was a comprehensive revision.
Oh, sure.
I mean, we constantly update it as rules and regulations and laws change. There are things that are updated on an as needed basis. But there was a wholesale revision of this thing that our HR team worked on, and I don't think they worked on it in a bubble. So we are all acutely aware. It's one of the things that we know that there are independent offices, and they're there for a reason. Mr. Chastain said it to us. The rules are there. So there would be no bleeding over. There would be no influence. We the only influence we have is we represent the people when it comes time to the budget. Our constitutional officers are elected to perform a function, and that's what they do, and they do a really good job of it. So there's independence, so that there's not undue influence. I mean, for instance, we set the budget, we set the millage rate based on the digest created by the tax assessors, and the tax commissioner's office collects the money owed to the county and to the other bodies, city, school board. There's no influence. It's designed that way. Could you imagine a situation where we had influence over how taxes were collected, how sales were done, or if there was influence the other way? So the system works as best. So, but because of that, and the way the employees are treated, we consciously provide a lot of latitude to folks that don't directly report to Mr. Tinsley to use the handbook as a guide. We don't force anyone to, because I think the statute, and I'm not trying to quote it here, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not an expert on this, would require that for employees that don't report to us directly, there would be an agreement signed by those offices that they would adhere to it. That would allow them to benefit of insurance, retirement, and all that stuff. Well, in the time that we've been here, we've all been here, we've operated with kind of a gentleman's agreement, that we've not forced that on anybody, and I'm not saying it's our intention to ever force that on anybody. What we're doing works, has worked. Now, if it's not working now, then I guess we can have that discussion. But, so anyway, with that, that's really all I have. By the ways?
Yes, I do have an by the way.
That's all that thing.
On the 17th, well, I've talked to Mr. Chastain about the homestead exemption and some of the changes that may affect the final bill on the taxes. And he has agreed to come to Salem on the 17th and have a question and answer session. He was going to give us a little update on the homestead exemption taxes. And I know the bill will come out probably in another early next month, I would suspect, but he has agreed to come to Salem on the 17th and have a discussion with whoever wants to come, but it'll be at the Salem Baptist Church on the 17th at 6:30 in the afternoon in the evening to discuss that particular issue. And I wanted to make sure I mentioned that here.
It's gonna be on the news.
Okay, so
paper.
is there any other final comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, we adjourn. Thank y'all.
So that could be asked to be put on the agenda. Is that okay now?
Shoot me an email, give me the topic. Just, I want to put it on here exactly how you want it.
Thank you.